and welcome to another video. I'm Simply G, and today I'm going to be showing off all of the anime that I got this month, which is a lot actually. Some of my Discotek sale stuff came in, some of my local store sale stuff came in. I got my Japanese proxy box this month. I got my US proxy box this month. There's just a lot. There's a lot to get through, so rather than spend a long time on this intro, I'll get straight into it, and I hope you guys enjoy. Foremost, I got some merchandise. So I have some clear files, which actually aren't free clear files. They are holo from Spice and Wolf in various costumes. This one has obviously 2 pieces of art, and then just the kimono art on its own. You can get this one on its own as well as a sari style one too. I also got these holders for all of my clear files because I have a lot and I needed somewhere to actually store them. But I saw these on AmiAmi, hadn't seen this more recent artwork of holo, so I decided to pick them up. I just popped them in with my current AmiAmi order, and they came safe and sound. Talking clear files, obviously I also got the free clear file for last month, or the most recent birthday month, and that is Kisame with this one. And I have organized them so they're not in like dates. They used to be in date in my old files, but now they are just next to whoever is most convenient. They are paired with their boyfriends. But yeah, so Kisame is the last one in this set. The new this year's birthday set has already started, so of course I've been pre-ordering those. Haru's just came out today, because today is his birthday. Happy birthday, good boy. And yeah, you know, just more of the same, more of exactly what you expect. I got 2 of the On My Day Off clear file sets. So first being Momo, who's like on a bike drinking, I don't know, some sort of Starbucks drink, and of course Ocean Scene, as well as Sosuke hanging out at the gym. Oh, hitting the tripod. Just working out, and of course Ocean Scene as well, with a ship. So pretty expected for this line of artworks. Into the anime, I only got 1 limited edition set this month, which is maybe good. Maybe it means I have some self-control. No, it doesn't. But this is actually a show I already own, which just betrays that it doesn't mean that I have any self-control. But this is Anime Limited's recent re-release, or well, release full stop, in the UK, and is really lovely. A series I adore, from a franchise that I don't. But this is Lupin III, the woman called Fujiko Mine. This is Sayo Yamamoto's feminist reinterpretation of the classic Fujiko Mine character from the Lupin III franchise. I love this series. It's one that definitely, I think across the board for anime fans, rejuvenated and reignited interest in the Lupin franchise. And from this we've seen multiple new seasons of Lupin over the last several years to great popularity. Personally, I still think this is the best out of everything, as well as being pretty standalone. You don't need to know anything about Lupin to enjoy this. And in saying that, when I watched this for the first time many years ago now, I didn't know anything about Lupin, aside from, he was recognizable, but I'd never seen Castle Cagliostro. I'd never watched anything or read any of the Lupin manga, because Lupin III in general is based off of the manga of the same name, loosely. There's not that much manga, there's a lot of anime. But regardless, happy to have this new edition from Anime Limited. It's actually using the Discotek discs, which is the new US release. I previously owned the Funimation limited edition set, so now I just literally have 2 versions of limited editions for the series, which is fine by me because I love this woman in her series. The director is the one I'm referring to, and I think that this is a phenomenal reinterpretation and examination of this character that for majority of her life has just been kind of, you know, the Bond girl sex kitten joke of this larger franchise. I'm glad that she was given some more to do, and she is a really fascinating character, so I highly recommend it if you haven't given it a shot yet. Other UK releases that I got this month is what has been released so far for the final season of Monogatari. So we have Tsuki Monogatari, we have Owari Monogatari, Volume 1, or Part 1. We have Owari Monogatari, Volume 2, Part 2, and Koyomi Monogatari, which is the most recent. I literally got this yesterday. And this is, for the first time in a long time, a 2-disc set, because a lot of these are single discs because they only have 4 or 5 episodes on each. But the reason this is well, I don't know why it's a 2-disc set. It's a 12-episode series, but each episode's only a minute long, so I don't know why they separated it. That seems a little bit illogical, in my opinion, considering it was literally like 14 minutes of content across 2 discs. It's bizarre, but I'm not making the decisions, right? This, of course, is just part of the most recent adaptation, continuation, sequel of the Monogatari franchise, which focuses on our main character, Koyomi Araragi, who in his first or second year of high school, during the break, he's turned into, well, he comes across a vampire, turns into a vampire, turns back from a vampire back to a human, thanks to some help from people. And now he continues to meet new people who are having supernatural problems occurring in their lives, and so he's helping all of these people who typically turn out to be teenage girls. So this is sort of a harem, sort of it's comedic. It's based off of the Nisio Isin light novel series, Bakemonogatari, Kizumonogatari, etc., etc., etc. The anime adaptation starts with Bakemonogatari, and you go from there. The Kizu films are a prequel to that, which you can watch before. You can also watch on their own. It's a pretty self-contained story. This is a franchise that, like, you either really love or you really hate. I think major characters, and there's a lot of them across the multitudes of episodes, because this is... So Bakemonogatari is 15 episodes, and then Nisei is 11 or 12, and then we have Neko Black, which is for... The second season is 26-ish episodes all up. The final season, which is what all of this is another, I don't know, 30 episodes plus the 3 films. And with the final Zoku Owari Monogatari, the main story, quote unquote, is finished of the novels, but I do know that Nisio Isin has been writing Monster Story, which is yet another series in this franchise. It will never end. It will never end because it makes Nisio Isin too much money, and it will never end because the adaptation makes Shaft too much money. If you are familiar with like the Shaft or Shinbo directorial style, this is really what popularized it for a good reason. And as I said, it's something you either love or you hate. It's certainly got Nisio Isin's like classic, I'm very clever, look at all the word puns I use, very dialogue heavy, not much action. There is some action, and it's very good when it is It's good. It's done well by Shaft when there is action. But I will say that, like, if you're not a fan of talking heads, this is not the series for you, where characters are just talking circles around each other, and a bunch of sex jokes, and, you know, just very otaku bait jokes as well, like little sister kind of fetishization, things like that. As I said, it's a very divisive series. I think if you can get past that, it is really decent, but it's not one for everyone. Obviously, I'm a fan of the series. I have been for a long time, and this is just continuing my collection of the much cheaper standard editions from the UK, put out by MVM. And I have the final Otori Monogatari and Zoku Otori? No. Final Owari Monogatari Volume 3 and then Zoku Owari Monogatari ordered. So hopefully soon I will have all of the rest of what's been released up until this point. Local sale stuff. I actually bought these last month, but they were out of stock for a little while, or on back order for a little while, so I didn't receive them until this month. And that is set 4 and 5 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable, the entirety of the Diamond is Unbreakable part 4 of the JoJo anime adaptation. My favorite part, personally, I like Josuke a lot. I like the smaller scale focus of part 4. And JoJo, again, one of those very divisive series, one you can never predict. I haven't I haven't read much JoJo at all. I haven't watched part 5 yet, although I do have the first half on disc now, thanks to the same sale. And I'm looking forward to part 6, because I'm looking forward to Jolene. But, you know, what to say, this is it is the 4th JoJo iteration, 4th generation of the JoJos, taking place in a late 90s Japanese town with a 15-year-old protagonist who looks about 27, as is per the rules of JoJo, who has always had this like weird power that he can't explain, which we know as the audience is his stand power. And you know, he's starting middle school, and he has some friends, and he is a delinquent with a heart of gold. And it's less about, comparatively to part 3, where it was like this big globe-trotting adventure, we gotta beat Dio, introducing what stands are, and there's just 400 episodes, and it's so long, and there's so much. It becomes a grind in Stardust Crusaders, in my opinion. But with JoJo, it's just like him and his friends, and weird shit's happening in the town, and they try to stop weird shit. And his friends have these weird stand powers as well. He finds out that he's the illegitimate child of the Joestar line, so he's a JoJo as well. You know, it's all great. And then, of course, the villain, creepy serial killer in the town, of whom they have to beat, because he also has stand powers. So, pretty typical JoJo, to be perfectly honest. As I said, my favorite part, I think it's the most cohesive and really likable cast, and a fun time, as JoJo always is. Like, you're always going to enjoy yourself, I think, when you're watching JoJo. Haven't seen any of the dub, anything like that. I haven't watched these discs yet, because I am not really in the mood to re-watch JoJo, considering I have stuff to watch already. So, you know, nice to finally complete, quote-unquote, the collection. All I need now is part 2, or the second set of Golden Wind, and then I'll be caught up with all of the current JoJo adaptations. I can't explain the story, because it's never the same, and there's 8 different JoJos, and every time it just gets crazier. You think you know what's going on, it's never what's going on. So yeah, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Bizarre is absolutely the correct word to use. Release another beloved franchise, another one that, so I had watched a little bit of this many years ago. Tried it, my sister and I were streaming it, and we're like, I don't like this. And put it on hold and just never went back to it. With the sale, I decided to pick this set up to finally finish it, which I have, and I have to say, not impressed by this adaptation at all, which is, I guess, maybe blasphemous considering. So, this is Berserk, the complete series. This is the original 1997 series on Blu-ray. A series that hasn't made the jump to Blu-ray in the US yet, but here in Australia and in the UK we have had a couple different releases. This is just the standard release, obviously. I'd watched 5 episodes of this previously and was like, eh. And I know people are like, oh, well, you just, once you get to the actual Band of the Hawk stuff, it gets better, just, whatever. So, if you watch my manga whole video, I talk a little bit about Berserk. Well, I'll be talking about Berserk in that as well. But inspired or motivated, sadly motivated by Miura's recent passing, I wanted to give Berserk like an actual proper try. Tried the manga, really liked it actually, and caught up with certain releases. So I was like, well, I've gotten, like, I'm actually invested in Berserk now. I'm actually interested in what it is and what it's doing. Maybe I'll go back to this and have a new perspective and enjoy it. And I watched it, and it was fine. It wasn't horrendously bad. I haven't seen the 2016 like a CGI atrocity that is the new version. I haven't seen, aside from like screen caps and GIFs and stuff, any of the movies that are adapting the Band of the Hawk stuff. So I'm not comparing it to the newer adaptations. This is purely from a viewing perspective. The fact that, and it's something that a lot of older series have, in my opinion, and from my experience, is that they're slow. It takes a long time for things to happen. And so, people have complained about the series in regards to it's an unfinished, it doesn't even finish up the storyline that it's adapting, which is bizarre because it really didn't need that much more to hit the ending. But the action was drawn out. A lot of the middle parts, because there's a lot of scheming and a lot of stuff that happens in this arc that is adapted in this, and it could have definitely been tightened up a bit. It just didn't really impress me, considering how positively people talk about this series on a very regular basis. And of course, I think now, especially because of the underwhelming recent adaptation as well, I didn't like this. The good parts were outweighed or cheapened, lessened by the stuff that I was annoyed by or wasn't impressed with. So ultimately, this is probably going to go on, well, this is going on the sell pile. I'm not keeping this, just because I'm never going to watch it again. And that's not coming from someone who dislikes the series. It's coming from just not being impressed with this anime, and just not gonna watch it again, which is maybe a shame, but I can't control my feelings about or my reactions, and it is my opinion. If you love this version, that's fine. I think also it might have been hurt by the fact that I was reading the manga first and then came to this. I don't know. I don't have all of the answers, but yeah, Berserk, not personally impressed. I got in local sales, but this is a Funimation release because Funimation is a cancer that is taking over the entirety of the English-speaking anime community. So they are cannibalizing all of our local Australian licensors and just chucking their releases on shelves. So this is identical to what you would buy in the US or Canada or the UK. It's across the board. And this is Funimation's release of Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, the complete series, a wonderful adaptation of a manga I really love. The same name, obviously. This is a really fun 12-episode adaptation of an ongoing manga about a high school girl who, following the superstition of the 7 mysteries at her school, wants to make a wish to Hanako-san, a ghost of a little girl who lives in the girl's bathroom, which is real, like, urban legend in Japan. This isn't something the manga made up. It's referenced quite a bit in like high school set manga and anime, so you may have heard of it before. But she goes to make this wish, summon Hanako-san and make this wish, but instead of being the ghost of a little girl, it is a ghost of a teenage boy. And he's like, "Hey, hi, yes, I'm Hanako. How can I help you?" And she asks him to help her with her love life. And he's like, "Well, sure, we're gonna figure out your good points." And he tries, but he's not a genie. He doesn't just, like, grant her wish and then she's happy, which infuriates her. And shenanigans ensue, and ultimately Hanako-kun, this ghostly boy, helps her, stops her from being or becoming the, like, servant of a mermaid. And in doing so, she becomes his human partner in looking after all of the various urban legends of the school, and also trying to figure out why so many of the mysteries of the school are acting a bit haywire, not acting themselves. It's fun, it's funny, it's got that creepy edge that any good supernatural series, stuff that focuses on urban legends. I love this manga. I talk about it a lot in my manga pickups videos because I always buy it when it's out. And it's just a really great time. Hanako-kun is a really interesting mystery at this point. There's a couple questions as to who he is, where he came from, why he is this Hanako character. Nene is great, and our other main character who's on the front here, this younger blonde boy who comes from a family of exorcists. He's the second son, so really working hard to kind of like meet his family's expectations and overcome or meet his older brother's expectations especially. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I highly recommend it. It's super good, and I also recommend the manga. Check it out. With Funimation series, although this is one that I bought from the US, and this is one that I bought off of a recommendation from my good friend Ray from Whimsical Pictures, so if I hate it, it's her fault. This is Maria the Virgin Witch, which is a 12 or 13 episode series about a witch, obviously, called Maria, who is kind of trying to prevent various battles throughout the French and English 100 Years' War. Very Joan of Arc-esque individual, although being a witch, she is kind of the antithesis of the church, comparatively to Joan, who was, said she was speaking to God and being directed by God. I've watched a little bit of this so far, not too much. Right now maybe Virgin Witch makes it obvious, but acts a little bit like a sex comedy. There's a lot of jokes over the fact that Maria is a virgin. Her her familiar, she has a succubus and an incubus, but the incubus is always like he's not really done well because she's never seen a naked man, so she can't finish his body in a suitable way for an incubus. It's fun. It's funny. I think this is from the way that it's been described to me, and the reason it was recommended is because outside of that, the early sort of humor or style of humor, it does get into a larger depiction or analysis of feminism and purity culture and, of course, virginity and all of these sorts of things that are prevalent, not only being pushed on to young women, but also, within the church, and how those things express themselves, and then how the series challenges that. But I look forward to watching more. I can't really give my full impressions on it because I haven't watched all of it, so I don't know. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this series if you've seen it as well. If you liked it or disliked it. Yeah. Title that I picked up, and this one I bought off of Amazon. I just chucked it in my cart because I needed free international shipping for something else to be fulfilled, and I'd been meaning to get this forever, but just only finally got to it now, and that is Gothic the Complete Series. This is the Blu-ray re-release, Essentials re-release from Funimation, a mystery set in it's a Sherlock Holmes style mystery wherein Sherlock is a blonde young Gothic Lolita girl called Victorique, who lives in this fictional European country, and her Watson is a teenage Japanese exchange student called Kazuya? I think that's his name. And he's just started at this fancy, European school. He goes to this tower, which is just, I think, also a library. No, as the exchange student, he's told to go do that because he has to work as well. I don't really remember. It's been a long time since I watched this show. But whilst he's in this tower with all of these books and all this stuff, he meets Victorique, who has the incredible, almost supernatural power of deduction, and they team up and solve unsolvable mysteries. And that's the show. That's it. And it truly is almost a supernatural skill in deduction. There's the latter half gets a bit crazy. It is good. It's solid. I did enjoy this. I watched it as it came out so many years ago now. That was 2011, 2012, maybe even earlier. Maybe it was high school. It was a long time ago when I watched this for the first time because I watched it as it aired. And this was actually an unusual one in that in the US, it kind of slipped under the radar. It came out during a period where not very much was being licensed at all. The anime bubble had just burst, and a lot of companies were struggling, trying to get out of debt, out of bankruptcy, or struggling to survive at all. But here in Australia, we actually did get this released. It was released on subtitle-only DVDs and got a couple different, half-season collections and full-season sets and whatever. And it wasn't until fairly recently that Funimation picked this up, dubbed it, and re-released it. I had the DVD sets many, many, many years ago. Sold them once I'd heard that Funimation had gotten the license, and just never just procrastinated on picking up the Blu-rays. But now I have. So yeah, I've done that. It's good. It's not, I don't think it's perfect. It's a pretty solid, like, it's based off a light novel for one. But an interesting light novel style that isn't as popular as it was then, and a little bit outside of what you would expect for a light novel nowadays. But yeah, you know, it's good. Also has the first anime opening is fantastic. I love it. It's the best part of the show. So even if you don't watch the show itself, go look up the first opening of the series and thank me later. I have some stuff that I bought from Right Stuff, but had sent to my US proxy, so I only got them recently. I guess I forgot that I didn't get the middle part. I don't think the middle part had been released yet, which will make more sense when I tell you what it is. But this is Kimi no Toroke, Volume 1, Standard Edition, and Volume 3, Standard Edition. This is an NIS America re-release. I used to own the premium editions a long time ago, sold them, and replaced, because when NIS America decided to re-release some of their titles in these standard sets, I was like, yay, I can get a normal Blu-ray sized case for this series. And so I sold some, I kept some. The only NIS premiums I still have are Arakawa Under the Bridge season 1 and 2, Bunny Drop, the 4 seasons of Natsume that we got, and then their more standard DVD size box sets, Eccentric Family and My Little Monster, I think are the 2 that I still have. I used to own a lot more. And unfortunately some of their titles haven't gotten re-releases. But regardless, this is a high school romantic drama about 2 classmates, Sawako, who is teased and bullied and called Sadako because she's, you know, got her long dark hair and people think she's quite gloomy and all that. And she's our main character. She's desperate for friends. She's very earnest. She's trying her best, but everyone is quite mean to her, except for the most popular boy in the class, Kazuhaya, who is, of course, the Mr. Perfect high school romance protagonist that you can get. He's really personable and popular and likable and gets along with everyone. But he's also kind of a cheeseball around his friends, and he gets super duper flustered around the girl that he likes, who is, of course, our main character, because he has seen her for who she truly is. He knows that she's really nice and trying her best, and she's really pretty and blah blah blah. And so through her own efforts, which is really wonderful, she slowly gets more friends. She starts getting closer to people, and by extension he brings her into his friend group. So, you know, she has this quite close-knit group of friends, including this boy that she likes, and he likes her, and we as the audience know that, but it takes them a while to get their shit together. It's a very long manga. It's 30 volumes long, which is too long, to be perfectly honest. But it's sweet. It's lovely. These are just good, nice kids that you want to see get together. And spoilers, but not really. They get together. The first season is 25 episodes. The second season is 12, 13 episodes. And adapts pretty much to volume 10-ish. It's a slow series. It's one that, you know, there's a lot of miscommunication and drama and guessing will they, won't they. Pretty typical. And I don't have a huge amount of patience for this sort of series often. But I do like these characters. I do like the series. It's one of the better, I think, out of the bunch. And I do have plans to get the middle bit that I'm missing right now. It's just, I don't think it had been released yet. I don't think it had made the jump to the Blu-ray case. I think it was still just the standard DVD case that they'd had for a little while. So yeah, Kimi no Todoke, from me to you. Here's another thing that I got from, or had in my US proxy box. It was from one of the last year's like Black Friday Sentai sales, but it had been on back order for a long time. So the last time I shipped out my US proxy, I hadn't received it yet. So it was just kind of lag from that sales period. And this is another one that I haven't seen yet. I bought it because it's quite well regarded, and I wanted to try it, and it was very cheap, unsurprisingly. So this is The Big O, both seasons 1 and 2, which is from my understanding, is a noir, like detective noir mystery giant robot series, which sounds amazing. And follows this, Bruce Wayne style detective and his android assistant, and giant robot. This was a very good seller for Genion, I think, back in the day, so much so that they actually co-funded the second season, which is crazy. That just tells you like how popular it was on Toonami or wherever it was airing. And so literally the second half of the series is thanks to US interest, which is pretty cool, I think. I know that some people don't think the second season is as good as the first season, which is fine. I haven't watched it, so I have no opinion. But it is just interesting that even then, the US side was thinking about getting more involved with Japanese production if interest and money was there. I mean, I can't say about what this is about. I expect probably pretty episodic, self-contained series where a guy in a suit gets in a giant robot and solves mysteries. That's all I can presume. Let me know if I'm completely wrong or right as well in the comments. If you've seen the show, if you like the show, I want to know. Sentai Filmworks although I bought this one locally from an eBay seller, which is good because I've been meaning to get it. It was more than I would have spent like during a Sentai sale, but considering then international shipping and using a proxy service because Sentai doesn't ship to internationally, I just bit the bullet and bought it locally. It did end up probably about the same as what I'd pay anyway, but this is the prequel film to Space Brothers Zero, the movie. This is, I haven't watched this one either, so I don't know, but I do know about Space Brothers because I love this series. This is ongoing manga series, completed anime series at 99 episodes, about two brothers who in their youth saw a spaceship, a UFO, when they were out and about running around in the middle of the night, and witnessing this UFO inspired the two of them to become astronauts. So you have the older brother, Muta, who is the one with the dark curly hair, and then you have the younger brother, Hibito, who is the blonde one with the pointy hair. And they're quite different personalities, polar opposite. Muta's, he takes his responsibility as an older brother very seriously. He's quite down on himself, self-deprecating, and an overthinker. A bit of just an overall wreck. Whereas Hibito is very personable, very outgoing. He's a bit lackadaisical almost. And he takes things seriously, but he doesn't take himself or other people's worries and concerns super seriously. And so the two grow up, they get older, and Muta kind of drifts away from this childhood dream. He, talks himself out of it. He doesn't think it's very realistic, but Hibito keeps on it and actually does become JAXA's newest astronaut, of which, his brother is very proud of him. So much so that he actually gets fired from his work after he hears his boss trash-talking his brother. So, unemployed and depressed and unsure of what to do, middle-aged, well, he's 35, which is maybe middle-age. He finally, through the encouragement from his parents, his brother, his friends, well, from other people, he decides to kind of recommit to his dream of becoming an astronaut, and so thus the story starts. We're following him trying to become an astronaut like his younger brother, and for the two of them to go to space together. It's so good. I love this series so much. If you like sci-fi, near sci-fi, like this is set in 2025 or something, like this is, or 2032, it is near. It is current day, pretty much. If you like stories featuring adults, if you like stories featuring realistic space stuff in the vein of Planetas, Space Brothers. Read Space Brothers, watch Space Brothers. It's funny. It's really heartwarming. If you're an adult, you're like, oh my god, yes. Yeah, relatable characters. Muta especially, I think most people can relate. It's just great. It's a great series. Wonderful. I highly recommend it. And I look forward to this movie, which I don't know anything about, but I would presume it's about when the two brothers are younger. Watch the series. It's streaming on Crunchyroll. That's where I watched it. A lot of the Blu-ray single sets of the show are out of print, but I presume it's because they're doing complete collection down the line. Either way, check the series out. Highly recommended from me. Of everything that I got was one Right Stuff order, and the first one being a Viz release, the long-awaited Season 1 of Mr. Osomatsu, aka Osomatsu-san, which chronicles the life and times and adventures of 6 sextuplet identical brothers, the Matsu brothers, Osomatsu, Karamatsu, Choromatsu, Ichimatsu, Jushimatsu, and Toromatsu, who are all just kind of big losers. They're late 20s, neats, have never had girlfriends, don't have much going on in their life whatsoever. This is a modern reimagining of the popular Showa Osomatsu-kun, wherein these characters were the young boyish rascals of the Showa period, right? This, as I said, modern reimagining of it, and oh my god, it's the this is one of the funniest comedies. I love it so much. It's got a crass sense of humor, in the style of like a Gintama, but man, is it good. It's also got just like really biting commentary on current topics, on the worries of the youth and millennials in particular, without necessarily condoning the Matsus and their choices, how they live their life. But if you want biting satire, hilarious poop jokes, and also really like sweet sentimental moments as well, this is absolutely fantastic and highly recommended. It took forever for Viz to put this out on disc. I don't know why, but I look forward to further seasons and movies and things, because this is a very popular title in Japan. It certainly took off. And I haven't seen season 3 yet, but I've seen the movie and season 2 as well. So I still have stuff to watch, but man, these Trash Brothers, I love them. They're great. They're painfully relatable at some points, even though they're just the worst people. They're the worst people, but also they're the worst brothers to each other, but they're like typical siblings where they can just be shitty to each other, but as soon as anyone else tries to be shitty to them, sometimes they will laugh at their brother's expense, but other times they will be like, hey, you can't do that, that's my bro. Yeah, it's good. It's really, really good. The supporting cast is great. And just legitimately so funny. Anime that I got this month were Discotek sale items. I used the sale as a chance to catch up because there was a lot of Discotek stuff that I needed. The first one being Ayakashi Samurai Horror Tales. I literally just bought this because this is, as you might tell from the cover, where the Mononoke series started. It is the last 3 or 4 episodes of this series, which is an anthology horror series wherein a different team, different studio, different director did like a short form horror story, the 3 of which are on the cover here. The only one, in my opinion, that was any good was the 3rd and final one. I used to own the 3 Geneon singles, DVD singles, that they put out. Watched it all. As I said, unimpressed with the first 2, but really, really liked the last one. And I'm not alone, because they were like, this is so good, we're gonna make it an actual television show. And that's what Mononoke is. So I literally just bought it for the last 3 or 4 episodes, however long it is. Because it is good content, and yeah, worth it for just that. Like, the rest of it is, it's fine. It's fine to have, but the Bakeneko Goblin Cat Mononoke stuff is good watching. All of these, because I haven't seen any of them, they're all very different, but the thing they have in common is that I haven't watched any of it, so I can't give my opinion. First and foremost, highly anticipated Dear Brother, a 39 episode anime adaptation of the manga of the same name by Ryoko Ikeda. I know people have been having issues with their disc coming cracked and things like that. The second disc in the set, I checked mine, didn't have an issue, didn't have any cracks, didn't have an issue getting it out of the case either. No problems, but I do know that Discotek, or at least Justin Savakis, is aware of the problems. They have been talked about on multiple like Blu-ray forums and things like that. From my understanding, the current advice is to return it from where you bought it, presumably Right Stuff, because there's not a huge amount of distributors of Discotek stuff, and Discotek has been alerted to the issue, and they're going to work out a replacement program through Right Stuff. But rather than contacting Discotek directly, it's probably better to contact where you bought it directly. But as I said, it's not an issue that affects me, so I won't have to need to do that, thankfully. The other things that I have in this kind of quick wrap up are all movies. So we have Arion, the collector's edition of this movie. I know nothing about this except for, I guess, ancient Greek setting, theology, maybe, mythology. All I know is that people were very excited when it was announced, so I look forward to it. I like this sort of style of movie, and I think Discotek, this is their bread and butter, so I expect a good release from them. The other, very different vein, and this one I kind of in line with another title I talked about earlier. This is Fujiko's Lie, the 3rd and final of these OVA films of Lupin the Third. I already own Jigen's Gravestone and Goemon's Blood Spray, both very good. I think all 3 of these are set in the same universe, quote unquote, as Woman Named Fujiko Mine. similar or the same animation style, if nothing else. I liked the first two. I will probably like this, and I look forward to watching it because, as I said, I haven't watched it yet. I saw it. I don't know. I presume that I will like it. I will presume that I will like it because I like the setting. I like the style for Lupin, and I like Fujiko as a character. So I presume I will like it. And then finally, it's a very oddball pickup for me, I think. But this is the Saint Seiya Knights of the Zodiac movie collection, 4 movies. I presume maybe not all feature length. Maybe they're only 210 minutes collectively, which is just over 3 hours. So maybe, I don't know. These are part of the larger Saint Seiya franchise, and from my understanding, pretty typical shonen franchise films where, there's a villain that's introduced and a power that's introduced that'll never get mentioned again. They are movie only, self-contained, which may bug fans, but for me, who's never seen any of Saint Seiya and has no real investment in it, I don't think it'll be an issue. I like standalone schlocky action shonen movies, even for even the firm franchises that I like. If there's a dumb, side story movie, I'll enjoy it for what it is. It doesn't have to change my life. And this was extremely cheap. I'm not a Saint Seiya fan, but I'm happy to pick it up. I know people are kind of desperate to give Saint Seiya a final chance in the West because it never really took off here. It is very popular in Latin America, from my understanding. And if I like it, then good for me. If I don't, then it goes on the sale pile. Pretty straightforward. Is one of the titles that surprisingly to me, the most excited for. And that is Memories, presented by Katsuhiro Otomo. This is a collection of 3 short films, Magnetic Rose, Stink Bomb, and Cannon Fodder. Now, I watched this many years ago, back in the day. I watched this, and it was fine. It was subtitled only. I don't remember if I had a DVD copy of it. Interestingly, of note, Australia actually had a subtitle-only Blu-ray set years ago, whereas the US never did, which was a little bit unusual until, of course, Discotek licensed it. Now, I watched it, it was fine. Like, I liked Magnetic Rose, Stink Bomb was okay. I did like it, but it was, fine. Cannon Fodder, I didn't get it. I was also young, keep in mind, I was young. But so Discotek announced the license for this. They announced a new dub for this, and people were super excited. Obviously, this is a classic sci-fi anthology collection, and I was like, that's cool for fans. And I wasn't inherently going to buy it. I had the feeling that, I wasn't super impressed with it. I probably wasn't going to rewatch it. It's one of the reasons I never picked up the Australian Blu-ray set. But Discotek actually premiered the dub on Twitch. They streamed the whole thing, the new dub, and coincidentally or happily, it was a public holiday or I was working from home, something. I was where I was able to watch it, which is quite unusual a lot of the time for these US events, because I think it was a public holiday, because normally they do this stuff on a Sunday or a Saturday daytime night for the US, and which it will be the middle of the night or right in the early it just doesn't work because of time zones. But I was able to watch it, and holy moly, the dub is so good, and it actually, I loved all 3 of them. Really fell in love with them hard, and I immediately from there was like, yes, I need to get this. and I am planning on showing my sister this as well, because she's never seen Memories. I legitimately super impressed with the dub, and that's not like, I'm not a dub hater. I have no like Japanese vocal performances are superior, opinions, things like that. Like, I'm not one of those people. I just typically watch a lot of stuff streaming first, so I don't have a lot of, like, I don't really revisit things once they've got dubs. I buy them for the show, and I'm typically set with like the first performance that I've seen. But man, this was super good. I loved it, and so yeah, it was a no-brainer for me to pick it up once it went on for pre-order. Had to have from Discotek, and another one that I pre-ordered. It was, of course, part 1 and part 2 of Lady Oscar, The Rose of Versailles. This is the complete 40-episode adaptation of the manga of the same name. Come on, don't do that. One of the most influential franchises of all time to this day in Japan. Lady Oscar, or Oscar de Jarget, our main character, sort of, doesn't start as the main character in the manga, but over time, because of her popularity, certainly became the main character. Is fabulous, wonderful, iconic, and you absolutely have seen this series referenced in things if you are any level of manga or anime fan. You have come across this series. You may not have realized that you came across a reference of the series, but you have. So this is a historical series set in pre-revolutionary France about a royal guard called Oscar de Jarget, who is a young woman who is raised as a boy, raised to be like a soldier, right? To follow in the footsteps of her father, because she's the only one of her siblings who had aptitude for the sword. Whatever, right? But she's now working in the palace, and she becomes the personal guard of the young Marie Antoinette shortly after she comes to Paris to marry the Dauphin. And so, Marie is bemoaning her having left her family behind in Austria, and is pretty typical spoiled young royal, but with no friends or anything. And so Oscar kind of becomes her confidant and closest friend. But meanwhile, drama, and of course, like, the revolution is bubbling, and hopefully from history you know that doesn't work out too well for the French nobles. Doesn't work out too well. But we also have like inter-chamber politics in regards to various members of the court and blah blah blah. So it's high drama, 70s drama, which means it's fabulous and absolutely a must watch, must read. Really exciting that we finally have the entirety of the manga as well, thanks to Udon. Really, we are living in an amazing age, because it's a classic series, but for so long it seemed that the US side had no interest, not because nobody was interested in it or nobody wanted to license it, but more so because it's not inherently something that would sell a huge amount of units and make a whole bunch of money, especially considering probable licensing costs. I already own the Nozomi DVD releases of this, the limited DVD releases, but and I won't be getting rid of those because they're really pretty. But obviously, when it was announced that the Discotek was giving this a Blu-ray re-release, I was like, yes, give me that, and I pre-ordered it. And thus, we have it here in front of me right now. Really, really, really happy to have the entirety of Discotek's release of Lady Oscar, The Rose of Versailles. Of the Discotek stuff that I got is older releases that I just needed to catch up on. I'd been meaning to buy for a while, and just didn't, and so waited for a sale. The one that I've been waiting the longest on, or procrastinating the longest on, I should say, is Kaiba, the complete series. This is a 12-episode series from Misaki Yuasa, so the director of Devilman Crybaby, Tokyo? Japan Sinks, whatever it is, Tokyo Sinks, that recent one. Lots of stuff. Ping Pong, other notable. Very, very prominent, well-known director. I love his series. Really love his directorial style. Although I'm not a fan of Japan Sinks, just by the way. But Kaiba is a really interesting speculative fiction, super flat animated story about a guy who has a big hole in his chest, and he is kind of just going around looking for something to plug the hole with. And if that's not a very obvious allegory, then I don't know what is. Yeah, Kaiba's great, and this was another one that had a Australian release for years before the US ever got it, which I owned, and then when it was announced that Discotek had the license, I sold that and was like, I'm going to buy the Blu-ray release. And I mean, I was right, but it maybe took me 5-6 years. So, yeah, I got around to it eventually. Really, really wonderful. Little bit esoteric. It's not a series for everyone, but definitely worth a shot if you haven't watched it. Is a series that I kind of never expected to get a disc release. I watched it streaming, but it hadn't been licensed. It's also not. It's one of those titles that, like, if it's not licensed outright at the beginning of the season, it could have very easily slipped through the cracks. And I really liked it. It's really charming, and so when Discotek announced the license, I was hype. No one else cares about this series as much as I do, I think. But it's super sweet. And that is, of course, Poco's Udon World, which is in a similar style to, like, Barakamon or even Yotsuba. It's about a young man who, after the sad passing of his father, he goes back to his hometown. He had kind of a rocky relationship with his father, who owned a udon restaurant. And this guy, he left his dad and the town behind when he was a teenager, because he didn't want to, take over the restaurant. He wanted to follow his own dreams and ideals and whatever else. And so now, returning to his hometown, he's kind of reconnecting with this place where he was born and where he was raised, and coming to terms with who his father was, and trying to understand or make sense of this relationship he had with his father, even though now it's a bit late, right? His father has since passed. But, so he's kind of wandering through the restaurant, looking at, like, what needs to be done, and how he's going to sell the estate or whatever. But he hears a noise, and after investigating a little bit, he finds this cute little boy. This cute little boy is hiding amongst the pots and pans. He's like, "Oh, local child, what are you doing here? There's no more food. We don't make udon anymore. I'm sorry. My dad's died. I don't do that. Go home." And this little boy keeps popping up, keeps coming back, because it's obvious that he loves the udon. He loves the udon from his father's store. And so he keeps trying to drive him off, but he soon discovers that this little boy maybe isn't a little boy at all, but is in fact a little tanuki who keeps turning into a little boy. And it's so cute. And he, in a similar sense to Barakamon, he just kind of like ends up with a child. He just kind of, this child is like, you shall now be my parent. I shall now live here with you. And this guy who really now is coming to terms with the loss of his father and the rocky relationship he had with him and his hometown, but also has had a lot of disillusionment with his life in Tokyo now that he's outside of his normal community and structure and work life. Grows attached to this little tanuki boy, and it's so cute. It's so cute. I've said it before, I'm pretty cynical a lot of the times when it comes to shows about, like, young guy has a adorable child that he is parenting, sort of, or like single dad narratives. Not because I don't think they're lovely and sweet and heartwarming, but because they are absolutely propaganda by former Prime Minister Abe to encourage all these weirdos who watch anime to have kids, because Japan has a declining birth rate. We gotta encourage them to have more kids. Look how cute these kids are. Please have kids. We have an aging population. So I'm quite cynical when it comes to like cute kid series. In saying that, I do like Barakamon. I do like Yotsuba. Not super in love with Sweetness and Lightning comparatively to a lot of people. But yeah, it's really sweet and heartwarming and lovely. And it's good. It's good. I'm happy that Discotek released it. And I will probably watch it again and probably cry again because I cried the first time. It's good. Have a series that, again, I never expected to get a disc release. This and the next thing. All of the last three things I'd never expected to get a disc release. Namely because this was streaming on Amazon Prime, and it's an Automine show. It was never popular. I wouldn't say this is the best series. In fact, I don't think it's like... I don't know when I'm going to rewatch it, but I do like having Automine shows on disc, because I liked that animation block. I think it created some pretty cool projects. But this is Battery, the animation, which is, despite being called Battery and featuring baseball players and sort of featuring a baseball battery, which, if you don't know, is the pitcher-catcher duo team. That's what they're called. It is more so a coming-of-age adolescent drama in the same style as, like, the 2.43 Seiin high school volleyball team show that just aired. And Stars Align, which is much better, like way better than this. This, I can't really remember what happened. There's very little sport, if anything, so don't watch it expecting a sports drama or really any sport. It is more so about the relationship between these two characters with each other, with the people around them, and namely our main character and his younger brother. Who is this character here? Yeah, I mean, it's not very remarkable. It's based off of a novel by someone else, who's done something else notable. I don't bring that up. They wrote a novel that, like, I want to say it was Run with the Wind or something else. Like, they wrote another novel that was very popular, or got a very popular anime adaptation, and I was like, oh, that's cool, I will try this. And this was just kind of fine. Like, it wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't very memorable. I wouldn't inherently recommend it. But if you do like drama, middle school drama, then maybe you'll like it. It's fine. It's pretty inoffensive, but it also doesn't have much going on plot-wise either. So, fair warning for if you're wanting to pick this one up. For another catch-up release from Discotek for me, and another one that I was surprised got a disc release, one that I'm much more enthusiastic about comparatively to the last series, and that is The Great Passage, the complete TV series. This is another Notamane show, 11 episodes adapting the novel of the same name. I love the series. It did get memed on quite a bit when it first came out, which was 2016. Because this is the dictionary anime, aka where it is literally about a group of individuals at a publishing house who are trying to create the newest dictionary for the Japanese language. Not a new edition or a revised edition, but just a straight up new dictionary, which is a much more involved and complicated process than I think people realize, and it really gets into the nitty gritty of that. But it's also a personal story about our main character and him discovering a passion for words that he never kind of considered before, and the people around him, and creating, or his involvement in such a passion project. It's great. This is a phenomenal series. As I said, it did get memed on a lot when it was coming out, because people who weren't watching it were like, how can you make an anime about like literally writing a dictionary? That's so dumb and silly, and wow, you can make an anime out of anything. And to answer that, it's like, yes, you can, because despite how silly it sounds, right, it kind of follows the same logic as a sports series where you don't know the sport, whether that be Haikyuu, but probably closer to something like Hikaru no Go or Chihaya Furu, where you don't know, you're not into the sport. You don't know anything about the rules. You're not like super passionate about sport, but you see the passion from the characters, and that's what gets you invested, because you care about those characters and their love for something is infectious, right? Or in a similar sense, Blue Period, which is getting an anime, it's currently a manga. Anything that's about a subject that you don't know anything about, you're not part of, you haven't ever even considered before, that can be some of the most you can get so invested in that. Such exciting, interesting story to be told, right? And again, to a lesser extent, something like Descending Stories or Shogen Rokuraku Go Shinju, where you don't know anything about the subject at hand at all, but it's just so powerful because of how much the characters love this topic or love this subject. And that's a very universal feeling, I feel. So yeah, meme on it if you want, but also it's phenomenal. I love this series. It's a great adaptation. The novel's also great. The live action film is also great, which I was lucky to see thanks to last year's Japanese Film Festival, online Japanese Film Festival. It's really good. It's really good, and I highly recommend it. This is quintessentially like a perfect Notamane show in that it's from something that outside of this time slot, this animation block, it would have never been adapted. Nobody was interested in this. Nobody knew about this. It's not based off of a popular light novel or manga. Nobody had it's not something that will make money, right? It's someone's passion project, or someone's just really interested in this idea. And they made it, and it was great. And that's really like what so valuable. And I think there's in an industry that just continues to become more and more commercialized, and every studio is trying to find the next hit, trying to push out as much as they can in order to get as much money as they can to fund the next big hit. These smaller, very personal passion projects, very unusual, quirky little shows that will never have the popularity of a Demon Slayer or Jujutsu Kaisen or a Ume Musume, the horse girl one, or a Bakemonogatari, or a Haikyuu, or anything, right? It's just not going to have that popularity. It's not going to have those sales. Sadly, we see less and less of. Even the original works stuff that gets put out nowadays is trying to capitalize on voice actors or merchandising, whether it be through figures or music singles or a mobile game or whatever, right? I just want, when you have just something interesting, weird, unusual, personal, it's just so much, it's better. And this is what I love to see from anime. I love the bombast and the popcorn fun of like the big Shonen Jump stuff as well, of course, but this is what I like to see. And so thank you, Discotek, for putting it on disc so I can rewatch it in the future at my leisure. Everything that I got anime wise and merchandise wise this month, there's quite a bit. Let me know your thoughts, feelings, opinions on any of them. Do you agree with my opinions on these things? I know that I had one contentious opinion on something very popular, but otherwise I don't think it was I said anything too risky. It was a big month for me, namely because of sales and proxy stuff and all the rest, but hopefully I don't think that I have much more coming in the next several months. I have a couple titles that I've ordered and things that I've bought, but nothing to the extent of what I received this month. And I probably won't for a while just because, one, I've stocked up on Discotek stuff thanks to that sale, and it coincided with a local sale here. And unless I really just dive all in with Sentai's like summer sales and stuff, I don't really see myself buying a whole bunch of anime at one time for the foreseeable future. But we'll see. Never say never. Let me know what you thought. Hopefully this video wasn't too long considering the amount of stuff that I got. And yeah, as always, if you did enjoy this video and you're not subscribed, you want to see more, you could all consider subscribing, because I make content like this on a semi-regular basis. And I would appreciate that. But no obligation, obviously. As always, the links to my social media are in the description down below. I'm on Twitter at CollectingG, and I'm on there pretty often. I also would have just posted the most recent podcast episode that I co-host with my good friend Ray from Whimsical Pictures, wherein we talk about various manga. And this month we did a series spotlight, which is exciting. We talked about Yuna of the Dawn. So if that's something that interests you, again, you can subscribe to this channel to get the latest episodes when it comes out, or you can follow us on Spotify, Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, we're on there as well. So yeah, if you don't want to subscribe, which is understandable. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you in the next video. Bye till then.